All power. All power. Thank you, Director of the program. Mrs. Hani and family, the family of our leader, Tambo, and the family of our leader, Thomas Ngobi, Minister Natim Tetwa, and all ministers present here, and deputy ministers, Acting Premier of Gauteng, Barbara Cressy, and all MECs present here, members of the National Parliament, and members of the provincial legislature, the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni, Mr. Mzwandile Masina, and all other mayors present here. Leaders of the African National Congress, particularly members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, the leadership of the SACP, led by its Deputy General Secretary, Solly Mapaela. No, I call him like that when I joke with him. It's Mapaela. COSATU leadership, led by its President, Comrade Stumo Dlamini, the Sanko leadership present here, traditional leaders and religious leaders present here, fellow South Africans. We are gathered here to once more commemorate the life of a distinguished freedom fighter and revolutionary, Thembisile Chris Hani. Today marks 24 years since he was brutally assassinated by right-wing conspirators who sought to derail our march to freedom and democracy. He was taken away from his family and the people who adored him and looked up to him. The killers wanted to plunge the country into civil war so as to prevent us from achieving a democracy in which government would be built by the majority and majority will of the people. Comrade Chris Hani demonstrated throughout his life and at the hour of his death that he lived for his people. He taught many young men and women within the ANC and the Alliance that personal sacrificing was the price to be paid in defense of the interests of the oppressed black people. In their actions, the killers of Chris Hani sought to sow division among the people of South Africa so that they could protect minority interests. However, the leadership of President Nelson Mandela rose to the occasion and called on all of us not to allow minority interests and the actions of disruptors to shift our focus. President Mandela called on all of us to honor the sacrifice of Comrade Chris Hani by uniting and accelerating our advance towards democratic elections. Indeed, we used that somber occasion as a platform to push harder for freedom and democracy, and eventually held our first democratic elections on the 27th April 1994 on the principle of one person, one vote. This year, we are also commemorating the centenary of President Oliver Reginald Tambo. Comrade Chris Hani and President Oliver Tambo are two of the most distinguished servants and leaders of our people in the struggle for freedom and justice. They passed away one after the other in April 1993, having successfully laid the foundation for the victory of the people in their struggle against white minority rule. Our youth and future generations need to understand the life and contribution of these two outstanding patriots. It is of this, and for this reason, that on the 24th of March 2017, we declared as National Heritage Sites the grave of Comrade Chris Hani. The Chris Hani Memorial and the Chris Hani Memorial and Walk of Remembrance. The leadership of Ekurhuleni must utilize the new status of these monuments alongside other historic monuments of liberation to build a thriving cultural tourism sector that also creates jobs for local people. It is absolutely important for those who will come to Ekurhuleni and be shown that here lies one of our heroes of our struggle, who was brutally murdered by the right-wing extremists. That here lies a leader in our revolution, the man with clear understanding politically and who shared high values, the man who was a member of the African National Congress, not just a rank and file, but who grew through the ranks and became its member of the National Executive Committee, but also as a member of the South African Communist Party, who grew through the ranks and emerging finally as the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. man who spoke straightforward without hesitation on matters, but never lost the respect and dignity of a leader. Even when he disagreed, and he disagreed with many, because he was an independent thinker. But no one would feel offended when Chris Hani disagrees with you. If anything, you will be persuaded to see the truth. An example of what a revolutionary was supposed to be, but also an example of what a communist was supposed to be. And when people come to Ekurhuleni, you must be able to tell them who Comrade Chris Hani was. And I'm happy because the mayor just hinted to me that the house in which he lived is also being done so that in it you will get to know who Chris was. Compatriots, we also need to remember that Comrade Chris Hani was a committed advocate of a kind of democratic transformation that would bring about political, social, and economic justice in our country. He believed that our democracy would only be meaningful if it guaranteed equality in the access to education, healthcare, jobs, and housing, among others. It is because of such beliefs that we made sure that the Constitution of the Republic affirms the principles of equality, freedom, and justice for our people. We ensured that the Constitution enshrines the creation of a better life for our people through the inclusion of socio-economic rights such as the right to water, sanitation, quality education, and health care, and other important basic services. We have been able to alleviate poverty through providing social grants to more than 17 million of our people, the majority of whom are vulnerable children, older persons, and persons with disability, in line with the Constitution. Government will always make sure to overcome whatever challenges may threaten the provision of this important social security net to our people. Comrade Chris Hani also advocated very passionately the need for our democracy to transform the systems of economic participation. He insisted that a democratic government had a duty to build a modern economy at the hands of all our people, particularly black people. As you may recall, earlier this year, while delivering the State of the Nation address in Parliament, I reminded the country of the message of President Oliver Reginald Tambo regarding the content of a future democratic society. The message was delivered at the South African Communist Party anniversary meeting in London in 1981. Our revered leader, Oliver Tambo, had this to say, and I open quotes: "The objective of our struggle in South Africa, as set out in the Freedom Charter, encompasses economic emancipation. It is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the country to the people as a whole. To allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact is to feed the roots of racial supremacy and exploitation, and does not represent even the shadow of liberation. It is therefore a fundamental feature of our struggle that victory must embrace more than formal political democracy, and our drive towards national emancipation must include economic emancipation," unquote. Over the past 2 decades of democratic governance, we have achieved a lot in the transformation of our economy. We have built a growing black middle class with access to work opportunities in areas that were historically denied to them. We have created pathways for the emergence of black-owned businesses in various sectors of our economy. However, the impact of these changes has not been to the desired effect. 23 years into our freedom and democracy, the majority of black people are still economically disempowered. They are dissatisfied with the limited economic gains from liberation. Therefore, it is out of this historic knowledge about the sense of our struggle for democracy that we have decided to focus firmly on radical socio-economic transformation in the remaining term of this government, as informed by the 2012 resolutions of the governing party, the ANC. The ANC government defines radical socio-economic transformation to mean the fundamental change in the structure, systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are African and female. We want to move beyond the minority control of our economic assets towards democratic, inclusive, and equitable economic relations of control and ownership. So when we talk freedom, it must not just be hot air. It must be real issues that affect people. We want to see more opportunities being provided for local producers to sell their products so that our hard-pressed economy can grow. We want to see more black-owned companies benefiting from government's 500 billion rand procurement budget so that we can further grow black business and entrepreneurship. We want to see more young people becoming entrepreneurs and obtaining support from government and the private sector. We want to see more black people becoming farmers or industrialists. We want to see more black people owning companies that are listed on the Johannesburg Exchange. We want to see an improvement in the implementation of the affirmative action policies, especially within the private sector. Reports by the Employment Equity Commission each year indicate that the top and senior management positions of top companies remain overwhelmingly white and male. Black professionals indicate that they are being overlooked for promotion in many companies. The private sector also needs to attend to the accusation that the salaries of black and white professionals doing the same job are still unequal in this free and democratic South Africa. These are serious transformation issues that cannot be ignored. Importantly, we remember well that our radical political transformation towards democracy in 1994 was achieved through united action. We were able to make progress because all democratic forces closed ranks and put up a united front against minority interests that sought to prevent the achievement of our objectives. We must therefore unite as South Africans behind this project of building a sustainable economy. We need to unite even more now, given the challenges we face locally and globally. Earlier this morning, I met with the finance minister and the deputy minister, the governor of the South African Reserve Bank, and the SARS commissioner to discuss further the impact of the credit rating downgrades and how we should respond adequately and unite the country as we move forward. The finance minister has been engaging the business community. Engagements with all social partners, including labor, will continue because we make progress and find solutions when we work together. compatriots, Comrade Chris Hani believed in a non-racial society. In his memory, we must continue building a non-racial society and fight racism wherever it rears its ugly head. We have sadly not yet succeeded to build the non-racial society that we envisaged. There is a resurgence of racism in our country. It is also clear that racists have become more emboldened. The marches that took place last week demonstrated that racism is real. And exists in our country. Many placards and posters displayed beliefs that we thought had been buried in 1994, with some posters depicting black people as baboons. It is clear that some of our white compatriots regard black people as being lesser human beings or subhuman. The racist onslaught has become more direct and is no longer hidden, as was the case in the early years of our constitutional democratic order. Racists no longer fear being caught or exposed. The racist onslaught has become more direct and is no longer hidden. And this must be saying something to us as a country. We are a non-racial South Africa, and you must fight for this. It is an important struggle to win, that South Africa becomes indeed non-racial, non-sexist. In the fight to combat racism, we should look beyond only to avert racist utterances and public displays that we saw during the marches last week. We should also look at the ideological and institutional machinations that continue to give racism more attraction. Racism is a gross violation of human rights and plunged this country into decades of conflict in the past. We cannot allow and assist racists to take our country backwards. At a legislative level, government has published the Prevention and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Bill. Once it becomes law, it will criminalize the several forms of discrimination, including on the basis of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and nationality. We call upon all freedom-loving South Africans to unite and fight racism in our country in the memory of Comrade Chris Hani. Comrade Chris Hani abhorred racism and fought against it all his life. He tragically lost his life at the hands of hardcore racists. It will take time, but it needs to be done if we are to achieve a truly united and non-racial society. Compatriots, as we navigate the transformation of our country, we encounter various challenges along the way. Our people are also experiencing frustration, and we will have misunderstandings in trying to choose the best path forward. However, we should never forget that one of the trademarks of South Africa's transition to democracy was tolerance and peaceful coexistence. We must coexist and tolerate one another around a common vision of social justice, reducing inequality, maintaining political stability and national unity. As we celebrate the life of Comrade Chris Hani, we must work together to build a better life for all of our people, in spite of the economic hardships that we face currently. We must face the difficult times together, and united we shall succeed. Compatriots and friends, it is my pleasure and honor to officially unveil and launch today as National Heritage Site the grave of Comrade Chris Hani, the Chris Hani Memorial and the Chris Hani Memorial and the Walk of Remembrance. We do this to our comrade, to our leader, to our commander, to our commissar. I thank you.
umongameli wethu sekazoshiya manje bengicela ukuthi simkhiphe ngeculo sekayahamba umongameli usitshenile ukuthi unenkinga yesikhathi siyamkhulula umongameli siyabonga mongameli ukuthi uzofika kuruleni basi